Hey guys, this is Comic Ken, and today I'll be inking a page from my latest webcomic, Ch.3, while also discussing my thought process as I go through Chapter 3 of drawing this thing. And I have to say, it has been a humbling experience since Chapter 2. Chapter 2, I was 100% gung-ho. I'm going to get this done in as little time as possible, and it'll be easy. And for Chapter 2, the subject matter of it was so simple. The way the background looked and the amount of characters that were in it compared to Chapter 1 was definitely a lot easier in terms of the workload that I had to draw for that chapter. Compared to Chapter 1, which took 10 months, going through my job, working, and doing all this stuff, I knew Chapter 2 would be in a much simpler location to draw, and it would be a lot easier to render all the characters because I knew their designs and I knew what they look like. The background was a simple tile floor and walls with nothing on them, and so I knew it was just going to be a cakewalk. And every day I was getting several pages done per day. And I was just like, oh, wow. You know, by the end of it, which took about 35 days to do the entire thing, from pencils to inks to colors and lettering, I thought, you know, by the end of this, I'll be able to do a chapter per month. Yeah, every month or so, I should be able to do a chapter, and it'll be easy peasy, and it'll be like this for every chapter that I do. But that is definitely not the case with this current Chapter 3. Chapter 3 has been, I wouldn't call it a mess, but it's definitely taking longer than I thought it would, because it's not really the characters so much as it is the story demands. I have to really think about how I'm going to portray the characters, what poses they need to be in, and I also have to think about the future canon of the story. Like, because what's happening in this chapter is a canon event, or is something of serious consequence that is occurring, I have to be very aware of how each character is looking. I have to be aware of what plot events are happening at certain points, and make sure that everything is cohesive and makes sense, so that I'm not just drawing whatever I feel like that day. I have to draw what the story actually requires, and that is a different muscle that, if you're doing a comic strip, it's a lot easier to just come up with a gag. It's a different muscle. That's what it is. It's a different muscle that you use when you're drawing a comic strip versus drawing a long form comic story, where the characters are doing things that matter, and you have to be consistent about what the characters are doing, so that you don't confuse the reader and you don't confuse yourself or write yourself into a corner. So while I was drawing the pages, I had to make sure that the poses were on point, the hands were good, the expressions weren't too intense or too jokey. I still haven't even inked in the gun on the page, because it's a and you can't see it in this video, but there's a gun that's in this chapter that I just haven't fully drawn out. It's basically like a modified Glock, but I want to give it like a cooler design, kind of like the caster gun from Outlaw Star that basically shoots magic, which is such a cool concept that I wanted to use it in some respect in this chapter of the story. And I did have a newer character design for this guy that you're seeing in this page that I'm drawing, standing over Chelsea. His name is Chris, And this is, I can't really say much more than that. He's a character that is integral to the story, and that they are having to deal with as a result of the consequences from chapter 2. So that is kind of what's going through my head as I'm drawing this chapter. It's like every day actually has been really, I wouldn't call it stressful, but I would say that every day is like, dang, like that took longer than I thought, or this task took longer than I thought. Like the characters that I'm inking, I thought it would be okay, let me just put these lines down and then on to the next. But there's always just a little bit more work to do, and then outside distractions from my life can get in the way and slow me down a little bit, where it's like, okay, well, I gotta go take care of this first. And then it's almost as if like once I get to the point where I can really sit down and do work, boom, another thing happens outside of it where I have to go take care of it immediately, and do that before I can come back and sit down to work. Then when I sit down to work, it's like, okay, let me watch a couple of YouTube shorts, and a couple of YouTube shorts turned into like 10 to 20, and then you're like, okay, now I'll start working. And then you start working, and then boom, another thing happens, and you need to go attend to that. And it's just like a loop. And it just it slows down the process a little bit. But I can never like truly complain. Like this isn't a complaint at all. It's just a reality of how things go sometimes. And I'm pretty sure that once I'm making enough to like move out and live on my own, it'll just be more the same but different. Like where I'm gonna be doing my own, like living on my own and working on my own, but not having the luxury of having, you know, my parents like make food and then be able to just like eat it and all that. I'm gonna have to do all that stuff myself, or get DoorDash or something. I'm really not somebody who orders a lot of DoorDash or Uber Eats, but that's mostly just to save money. But yeah, all I've been working on today, since I basically got all the characters inked for Saintly, is trying to get my website back online. I finally got certain files that need to be uploaded and restored to the site so that I can get it back up and running. And I just need to do a couple of things to make sure that it's ready before I hit restore and then bring it back up. But for now, it's just down. And but luckily I have everything backed up and I have all the files there, so that's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I am still just trucking along with the inking of the characters on chapter 3. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finalize the characters, and I'm gonna do as much on the page as I possibly can before I actually go into the program to finish the rest of the pages, meaning before I scan them all in and put them into Clip Studio Paint, I want to do as much on the page that actually would save time before I scan it in and put it into Clip Studio, because there I'll be filling in a lot of black areas and getting it ready for color. And then I'll also be putting in like this fog effect for the background, so that because that's the effect that's been there for this chapter. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Appreciate you checking out the videos. I appreciate everybody who showed up to the last live stream. And if you want to read the first chapter of my latest webcomic, Saintly, it is a demon chase horror action comedy about two best friends who have to outrun the demon loan sharks that they borrowed from. Basically, it's like Scooby-Doo meets K-pop demon hunters without the K-pop. And the story backs the main character into a corner where she has to decide between the hard path to success or lose her soul to the lure of easy money. And we get to see the ramifications of her choice, and if she can hide this deal with the devil from her friend, or if it will tear them apart. And I hope you read my comic in the description and check out the story. It should appear in your email inbox or your spam folder if you don't see it. So thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.